Once in the forest lived a beautiful white Arctic wolf. But this wolf wasn't a fully wolf. Its real form was of a young girl of the age of 11. She was quite sensitive, alert, like any other. She had the ability to transform into a beautiful Arctic wolf. Her fur would be as white as snow, her eyes would glisten in the gentle moonlight. This girl's name was Emma. She also struggled to control when she transformed, but oh no, she didn't tell anyone. Daniel and Connor were her only friends. Others, well, called her a weirdo. Sometimes in her maths class she kept holding her pencil case with her mouth, when her teacher, Mr. Roberts, told her not to. He was also her tutor, and sometimes he would be nice, but mostly he would be the worst teacher in history. Anyways, Emma would keep acting like a wolf. She just kept on feeling the urge to do it. In her new school, she felt at home at it straight away. As there was a big woodland area behind the PE courts, she found it was a place where she could be free, as it was still in school premises. A few weeks later, she was used to the school. As a routine at lunch, she would go straight away to the luxurious green field. Then, as a surprise, she came into the classroom and sat down in her seat as normal. Then Mr. Roberts arrived with a boy with mousy brown hair and black framed glasses. He stood in front of Mr. Roberts' desk with a shy look on his face. "All right, everyone, let me introduce you to a new addition of the class, James Hackett." He just stood there and shyly went to his seat. Emma sniffed him as he walked past. At break, she took his hand and took him to the woodland area behind the PE courts. The woodlands produced nice fresh air as the grass waved along the ground. The trees' leaves danced in the breeze. Emma and James both sat down next to each other. "Why did you bring me here?" asked James, tilting his head as he spoke. "This is a place where you can calm down. Works for me," replied Emma. James looked around in awe, as the space wasn't that big, but it was relaxing though. "Thanks. It's perfect," said James happily. So a few seconds later, James started to shake, his body quivering with fear. "Not now! Stay away!" James suddenly said, and he shook. Then luckily, since Emma could transfer too, she did. Then at the same time they turned to normal. When James was a wolf, he was a honey brown wolf with a lighter bib. He also had brown spot blotched pattern on his fur too, as well as a big bushy tail. "Whoa! You're just like me! You transformed too?" whispered James with excitement. "Yep," replied Emma. "Here are my two other wolf-blood friends, Daniel and Connor." "Hi!" they both said excitedly. So, after break, James, Emma, Daniel and Connor all went to the same maths class together with Mr. Roberts. Sometimes in class he would reward the class with extra time for break, but when he told everyone off for talking, he would put on less time for break. So then, as soon as Emma sat down, people laughed at her, called her stupid. Mr. Roberts was only nice to Emma and her friends, since others kept calling her names and making fun of her. "Ooh, is that your new boyfriend, Smelma?" A chavvy girl named Sydney was the baddest one of them all. Sydney always picked on Emma since her infant school. She had dirty blonde hair, overdone makeup, and she had a ripped tie, scraggy uniform with foundation all over it. She also had musty, greasy hair as well. She looked an absolute state. Even though she was the worst bully of them all, she was obsessed with her iPhone, her broken-screen iPhone. She had so many selfies that she could barely have any storage data at all, and her phone bill was a fortune. Emma felt the urge to transform, so she said she felt sick, so Mr. Roberts let her go to the toilet. She ran in the bathroom and transformed. So did Daniel, Connor, and James. All four of the pack ran to the field and calmed down. The next day, Emma was freaking out. Her first ever exam. The other thing was that she was impression or stressing about was that she didn't study. By the time she got to school, a water balloon came flying and splat her on the head. She turned out to be soaking wet, so she shook off and walked away. Then she went to the girls' toilets and dried herself off with the hand dryers. The next morning, when she was in school, she hid away. When in history, she hid under the table without anyone knowing. She couldn't control her wolf self, as it was just waiting to come out, but this led to extreme trouble with bullies who tried to hurt her in wolf form, and was seen on CCTV footage. How did this happen? Well, It was on the 15th of February, and Emma, James, Daniel and Connor all went to class for tutor. Right, everyone? Today we're going to the assembly hall, so on the way there, keep your mouths shut, Mr. Roberts announced. So on the way there, everyone was silent, lined up, and some whispered, some stood and didn't say a word. Mr. Roberts' class, walk in quietly, said our head of year, Mrs. Robinson. So they walked in, and a few minutes later, every year 7 was sat in their tutors in their seats. Today I have some rather bad news. The summer fair is cancelled due to a few students having the flu and chicken pox, so they've been sent home to their families. So does everyone have a question? If you do, hands up, said Mrs. Robinson. A few people, including Emma, put their hands up. Yes, Emma. Mrs. Robinson noticed Emma with her hand up. Will people be sponsoring wolves in the animal charity? Emma was rudely interrupted by Sydney. Why would you want to do that? Wolves are lame. She laughed, as lots of other students laughed as well, except for James, Daniel and Connor. Emma stood there with misery and embarrassment until a booming voice from outside the assembly hall shouted, Silence! That's quite enough! The principal came in and vigorously pushed the doors open. Sydney Brock, Shania Taylor and Ruby Brompton, detention! All 3 of you! Come with me at once! Sorry, miss, carry on. He boomed his voice as he slammed the hall door shut. Bang. As for the rest of you, listen. Do not talk when someone else is speaking. Do you understand? Mrs. Robinson furiously boomed to year 7. At break, Connor, Daniel, Emma and James all ran to the field. They sat down on the branch of a different tree and started to have a conversation. I can't believe that Sydney's finally getting a lunchtime detention, laughed Connor. But just as he said that, Sydney walked into the field just as the words came out of his mouth. She pushed Emma into the tree and James was sat in. Emma had cuts and bruises all over her from the painful scrape from the tree. This ends now! Sydney shouted, as it echoed throughout the school. Then Emma slowly got up as Sydney's friend barged her like vicious balls. Emma then walked up to Sydney as she had phlegm in her throat. Then as Sydney shook her, banging her head back onto the tree, it splat on top left side of Sydney's head. Ew! Screamed Sydney and her friends. Spitting llama, Shania finally said, as they ran off.